Alright, so let's talk about one of the most ridiculous builds you can pull off in Borderlands 4, the Vex Bleed build. This thing is absolutely busted. If you've been struggling with bosses, trust me, this setup will make them feel like regular trash mobs. The secret sauce here is the Bloodletter skill from Vex's incarnate tree, and once you unlock it, you're basically turning every critical hit into a bleed effect. And since Vex can stack her crit chance through the roof, bleed is going to be proccing non-stop. It's just pure chaos, and it shreds everything in your path. Now here's the fun part. Vex Incarnate Tree is already designed around critical hits and status effects, which means this build is all about playing into her strengths. The bleed effect not only ramps up your damage insanely fast, but it also keeps bosses melting in seconds flat. It feels like you're breaking the game, and honestly, that's what makes it so much fun. If you want to clear out tough fights effortlessly and look like an absolute powerhouse while doing it, this is the build you need to run.
A very small portion of the audience is subscribed to the channel.
If you enjoy these types of
videos, don't forget to subscribe if you like these types of videos.
Enjoy watching.
Thanks.
Alright, let us talk about the absolute monster of a setup that is the Vex Bleed build in Borderlands 4. This build is all about stacking damage over time with bleed, keeping yourself alive with lifesteal, and turning every encounter into a bloodbath. If you like watching enemies melt while your health bar refuses to go down, this is the one for you. First up, we have Leeching Attunement. You want to max this out because while Vex is attuned to kinetic, she gets lifesteal and increased reload speed. The best part is that these bonuses stick around for a while even after you switch your attunement. That lifesteal not only keeps you alive, but it also synergizes with other skills later in the build, making it much stronger than it looks on paper. Now let us talk about the star of the show, Bloodletter. With this skill, every gun or skill critical hit has a chance to apply bleed. Bleed is a kinetic status effect that deals damage over time, and it is absolutely devastating. The more chances you have to apply it, the faster enemies just wither away. This is really the core of the build. To make that bleed hit even harder, we grab material components. This skill gives you more kinetic damage and kinetic status effect damage, and since bleed itself counts as a kinetic status, it scales beautifully. More gun damage, more bleed damage, it is an easy pick. But of course, survivability matters too. That is where Grave Vitality comes in. It is a kill skill that boosts your maximum health capacity and gives you health regeneration. Bigger health pool plus lifesteal means you can tank through way more punishment without having to retreat. Essence Leech takes the lifesteal concept even further. It gives you constant lifesteal, and when your action skill is active, the effect is doubled. That means you are practically immortal whenever your skills are up. And since this build is built around maintaining uptime on your abilities, that lifesteal spike is going to be there when you need it. Now here is where things get wild. Blood is Power gives you bonus kinetic gun damage when your health is full, and the bonus is based on your current lifesteal. Since bleed scales with gun damage, this synergy pushes your damage through the roof. You will actually find yourself at full health a lot thanks to all that lifesteal, so this skill is basically free damage. Enchantment is another big one. With this, you get bonus kinetic gun damage while your action skill is active. Once again, since bleed scales with gun damage, every shot you take during your skill uptime is going to stack even more ridiculous bleed damage on enemies. Reload speed can be a lifesaver, and Idle Hands takes care of Mahat. It scales your reload speed based on how full your health is. Thanks to constant lifesteal, your health bar will rarely dip too low, which means you will almost always reload lightning fast. That keeps your damage output consistent and your bleed spreading non-stop. We also grab Cold Iron, even at a lower investment. Extra gun damage may sound simple, but for this build it is huge. Every bit of raw gun damage feeds into your bleed damage, so even a couple of points here make a real difference. For scaling status effect damage, Portents of Suffering is a must. Both you and your minions deal more status effect damage, and since bleed is treated as a status, this directly buffs the core of your build. Enemies that somehow survive the first wave of bleed will crumble under the extra stacks. Finally, we round things out with Grave Quickening and Prismatic Ichor. Grave Quickening reduces your action skill cooldowns as a kill skill, which means more uptime for doubled lifesteal and enchantment bonuses. Prismatic Ichor is just a fun one. When you apply a status effect, it splashes on another random elemental effect. That means you are not only stacking bleed, but you are also spreading chaos with extra status effects at the same time. So, when you put this all together, what do you get? A build where every bullet has the chance to apply a devastating damage over time effect. Your health bar almost never drops below full, and enemies get buried under a pile of stacking status effects. The Vex Bleed build is not just strong, it is one of those setups that makes you feel unstoppable, like you are breaking the game in the best possible way. When it comes to weapons and gear for the Vex Bleed build, the golden rule is simple: stick to kinetic. Bleed only works with kinetic attacks, so if you pick up something with elemental damage, you are basically sabotaging your own build. That is why Jakob's weapons are hands down the best choice here. They never spawn with elemental affinities, and they are built for critical hits, which of course are exactly what you need to trigger bleed. If you manage to find a weapon with an underbarrel spread launcher attachment, grab it and never let it go. The spread launcher is ridiculously strong by itself, but in this build it does more than just raw damage. Every hit gives you a massive chance to spread bleed, and the damage over time effect becomes absurd once you combine it with Vex's skills. For your primary weapon slot, legendary Jakob's shotguns are king. Bod, which drops from Axmal in the Toil of Spoiling Viz, is an absolute powerhouse. If you want style points along with raw strength, Hellwalker is another must-have. It is the Doom-inspired shotgun you can get from the Meathead Riders in the Old Scrape. And not only is it a blast to use, it absolutely shreds enemies while stacking bleed like crazy. Hot Slugger is another shotgun worth chasing. This one drops from the Callous Harbinger of Annihilating Death in Craven's Nook. The big selling point here is that it grants a stacking damage buff every time you get a kill. Since the bleed build thrives on momentum and mowing down enemies quickly, the stacking bonus keeps you rolling harder with every encounter. Now, let us move on to ordinances. A throwing knife with the penetrator augment is an incredible tool for this build. If you land a hit with a penetrator knife, every bit of damage the target takes for the next 5 seconds is guaranteed to be a critical hit. That means almost every attack you throw at them will apply bleed, and the damage spikes to ridiculous levels. For your class mod, you should look for ones that boost gun damage and critical chance. Even better if you find a class mod that adds bonus points to Bloodletter or other key skills in the build, because that will make bleed even stronger and more consistent. These little stat boosts add up fast and push the build into their game-breaking territory. Enhancements also play a big role. The one you should be hunting for is the Jakob's Ricochet enhancement, which lets critical hits ricochet twice. Imagine firing one bullet, landing a crit, and then having it bounce around the battlefield, triggering even more bleed procs. It turns a single trigger pull into a chain reaction of destruction, and when you are using a Jakob's weapon, it feels almost unfair. At the end of the day, the gear for this build is pretty flexible as long as you follow the main rule. Stick to kinetic weapons that can consistently land critical hits. Jakob's shotguns are the best match, spread launchers take it to the next level, and penetrator ordinances plus the right class mods make you unstoppable. Honestly, the Vex Bleed build is so strong that you should not be shocked if Gearbox decides to nerf it down the line. Until then, enjoy absolutely melting everything in your path. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.